What is up? What is up? What is up, everybody? Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to the first ever Immutable Mindset Live. We've done the podcast before. You guys can check it all out. But what's happening, Kevin?
Well, it's a Monday morning for me, Monday afternoon for you, evening for John, who we'll be bringing on soon. But everything's great. I mean, I'm ready to get this day started, ready to get this talk started. We've got two awesome guests doing a lot in this space. I'm just ready. I'm just ready. How about you, Adam?
I'm doing great. So let's get the show started because I know it's almost John's bedtime. He's got to be up at 5 a.m. to hit the gym. I know he's got his trainer waiting for him. So let's get to it. Let's bring our guests on and do a quick round of introductions. Gentlemen, welcome to the Immutable Mindset Live. What's happening?
What's going on? Good to see everybody. We just wrapped up NFT NYC. Just thrilled. We got John in Dubai holding down the Middle East. Great to be here with you guys.
Well, it is awesome. So quick round of introductions here. We're going to start with our man in the Middle East. His name is John Kraski. I don't know what his official title is besides Rolls Royce connoisseur, the poppin' collar king of Dubai, the king of LinkedIn, Mr. John Kraski over at Landvault. How's it going, man?
Thank you. What is going on? Yeah, I guess my official title is Director of Strategic Partnerships at Landvault. You previously had on Sam Huber, my CEO, a few weeks ago. I don't know.
We interviewed Sam a couple of weeks ago. That episode is dropping in a couple of weeks. Excited to share that. So you're actually going to be on first if you think about it, because this is a live show, so the content is actually live now. Sam's show isn't coming out for a little bit, but let's talk. Yeah, so you're actually first mover advantage. So let's talk shop for a moment here. What is it like to? I'm a serious question here, man. Like lifting up your entire life and moving, all the way around the world to Dubai. It's a new city, new people, getting acclimated. Like even things like finding your dry cleaner, going to the supermarket, feeling comfortable there. What's that like, man?
Yeah, I was actually just thinking about that. I've actually now found kind of my favorite smoothie spot. I found a burrito spot. I've been there like 3 times in the last 5 days. So yeah, I found the burrito spot here. The burrito spot. I had not found in New York. What?
I'm actually supposed to ask you about that. You brought it up, and Dennis Fantasy asked me to ask you, what's the best burrito spot? So what's that burrito spot name?
It is called. Well, it's in the mall. It's in the Dubai Mall, which is actually literally like 100 New York City belong. It was insane. So the burrito spot is called. Hold on, let me pop it up.
We're doing a plug for the burrito spot in Dubai, right?
This burrito spot better be sponsoring this episode.
Oh,
it is. We're gonna have to back channel it for the replays here.
It is called Tacado Mexican Kitchen. They are selling.
There we go.
They are.
Well, if you're ever in the greater Dubai area, please check out Tacado Mexican Kitchen for all your burrito desires and needs. So did you I'm just curious, did you renting a spot there? Did you have to, was it furnished? You just kind of plug and play? What's it like for folks that are thinking about, making the move over there? Was it pretty easy?
Yeah, so Sam and I are both doing these furnished rental apartments. It's Sonder. There's Sonder, and I think there's another place called Landing. Those are 2 of the biggest ones I know. But Sonder, yeah. It's basically like I'm in a hotel, but it's a furnished apartment. So pricing is comparable to LA, New York.
Jeez.
Seamless. They actually, to answer the dry cleaner question from Kevin, there's a dry cleaner here. So I've already done 2 rounds of dry cleaning service here. I have a gym, pool. There's a restaurant and cafe. It's seamless. It's honestly, it's more like America here than Europe. I was expecting it to be more like Europe, obviously.
Oh, interesting.
Because we're closer to Europe, yeah. But lots of Starbucks, lots of Dunkin' Donuts.
Boo.
Pizza Hut. There's lots of Pizza Huts here. There's a Domino's. I think I'm looking at a Domino's across the street. I would say 90%. Yeah, 90% of the people here are expats. So there's actually not that many Emiratis here. It's great. It's the thing I'll say about it. Like I know I've been talking about like how clean and safe it is, and and obviously there's severe ramifications for doing bad stuff. But the reality is, as we know in America and parts of Europe and other parts of the world, there's like no ramifications for doing anything bad. So, I mean, maybe it's a little extreme,
Like
but
Florida.
you know what? I'm walking down.
Florida,
I mean, I left my laptop at the coffee shop yesterday. Not even joking, for 4 hours. Just left it. I was like, because people said, "Oh, don't worry." So I was like, "All right, I'm going to trust these people."
We're going to test it out.
I literally came back, and it came back, and it was still there.
Wow.
And it's super clean. I mean, I was literally walking at the mall, like outside of the mall, and there was literally 2 guys sweeping on top of my shoes. Like they were literally sweeping the street.
I've heard it's the cleanest place on earth.
Well,
it is the cleanest place on earth. Yeah, it's
that's great marketing.
Great marketing, and yeah, the tourism board of Dubai should be paying me. Honestly, I'm pumping them up so much. But
since we're on the subject,
but I want to say one last thing.
Go ahead.
So like that innocence, that sense of innocence you have as a child when things are safe and you don't understand that the world's like an evil place. I have had that feeling when I got here. That's the crazy part. Like I did not know that you could actually recapture it, but that is what has happened here for me.
Hey, John,
so to that,
don't ever come back to LA because that innocence will be gone.
Opposite.
Like that.
Yeah, don't even think about going to
LAX. The moment your plane touches ground, the innocence is gone.
Yeah, don't go to Miami to that point. But before we dig into that, I just and Kevin will double back to John in a moment here. But we'd be remiss if we didn't do a proper introduction from my man Justin down there. Justin is a man of many talents and many voices. You and your kids may know him from some of your favorite childhood cartoons like Hey Arnold, and now he's doing a couple of Amazing Spider-Verse and correct me on that one.
Spidey and His Amazing Friends, where I play Rhino. We're the #1 cartoon on Disney Plus for 2 to 6 year olds. So throw out a little Rhino. Hey Spidey, get over here, or I'll web you up.
And there you go. And my 5-year-old and Kevin's 2 kids are definitely checking that one out. But Justin, why don't you fill us in? Talk to us a little bit about your journey and what you do in the Web3 NFT space.
Well, John and I have NFT Heat, which both of you were on, and that was a fantastic episode. So we've been doing that a little over a year now, which is just an incredible podcast. And candidly, it's a TV series now with Alter
awesome.
TV. So we've been doing that for the TV portion roughly 6 months now. And it's been wonderful. We get to bring on thought leaders like yourself talking about Web3, the metaverse, and we're expanding into AI and all different types of technology. So that's been a blast. And then I also have an animation studio, a Web3 animation studio, where our team comes from a lot of the wonderful cartoons like SpongeBob and Hey Arnold and South Park and Rick and Morty. And we work with some wonderful NFT projects to help them do cartoons, expand their content, so they can actually monetize and build a larger audience than, just the 2,000 folks or 2,000 degens that are in their Discord, so they can actually monetize and grow. And then we also have a daily animated cartoon show called The Morning Fork, where it's a parody show where we make fun of NFTs, crypto news, and all stuff like that. Just wrapping up NFT NYC, which I guess officially ended Saturday or so. So I'm feeling a little bit of the ramifications of that, but it was cool to see so many friends and make new ones.
And before we get into, before I toss it over to Kevin, just some quick thoughts on NFT and why. And John, we know that you're such a proponent of the cartoon Tiesto fueled parties, and there were those, right? There are those parties, and in my humble opinion, I think there's a huge value to those from a networking and connection perspective. Obviously, there's a lot of bullshit there. Obviously, it's still a party, but it's still a good opportunity to connect. But aside from that, the more intimate, in my experience from the day I was out on Wednesday, I was at intimate events where I really got to connect with the people that I wanted to, decision makers within the Web3, within the NFT world, the builders that were still there. They're talking about what they're working on. We're connecting on the future. And from a hiring perspective for what we do, we're in a stalemate right now. We're really not moving the needle on building, and the VC funding is starting to, it has certainly dried up a bit. So we're in a place now from our perspective where we're just going to double and triple down on those relationships and continuing to add value. So from my perspective, beautiful weather here in New York, great events, good people doing things, but I'd say about a third of the turnout. What was your take, Justin?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely significantly smaller than last year, and which was obviously smaller than 2021, where we were in this complete bull market. However, agree with you. There's been a lot of talk. Our NFT conference is going to exist next year, right? NFT LA, unfortunately, was pretty much disastrous. NFT Miami was great. So many wonderful friends that throw that event. And NFT New York was smaller. However, my feeling is I do hope these conferences continue. And the reason being is even though nobody goes to the conference, it becomes an opportunity as a destination where communities can come together, throw satellite events, collectors, builders, they can all come together. And that's where the schmoozing and the connecting happens and
Exactly.
relationship building continues. And my concern is if the conferences end because, they're not really able to monetize, then these satellite events will dry up as well. Nobody's going to fly to New York to just meet one community. You want to fly to New York because there's that conference and there's, which you're not going to go to, but there's 8 events and 2 parties in the evening. So that's kind of my feeling around that. We'll see. I heard that because they had it at the Javits Center this year, which is, a fantastic conference center where they hold the biggest conferences. I talked to somebody there and they said it was roughly $7 million to put it on at the Javits Center. So I'm sure that they lost their shirt. My feeling is they'll probably scale it down next year and it'll be somewhere around Times Square.
Yeah, it'll be in the back room of the Red Lobster in Times Square. That's exactly what we're
one special.
All right. So moving on here, let's get to the crux of it. We invited you guys on not just because we truly enjoy spending time with you on and offline, but you guys are thought leaders and expert in this space. And in our world on the Immutable Mindset, Ken is the DJ and the expert, and I play the role of the newbie, even though I'm Kevin, where am I at these days? Have I moved from newbie to like enthusiast? Where am I on the experience meter?
I think that's a good place to be.
All right, so we're going to toss it over to Kevin, who's going to lead us through the next segment.
Yeah, just curious, so let's segue that. You just left at NFT NYC. I know John is a constant discusser of NFTs. What's your thought process on the let's start with the PFP version of NFTs. Where are we at in the state of the market with the PFP version of NFTs and just NFTs in general?
Who's this, to John or to myself?
Open question.
John, you take it, buddy.
I mean, are we talking about bad cartoons? Is that what we're talking about?
We're talking about the PFP.
Right. Good cartoons.
Yeah, I mean, you mean the monkey cartoons? Yeah, where are we at that? Like, honestly, I think that phase is basically done. I mean, obviously there's a few of those projects still around, but those were really well capitalized by big VCs. So the VFriends, Yuga Labs. The reality is this. The one thing I will say about Gary Vee, he is really the only person that has delivered the utility and the roadmap promise to the holders. I think maybe Yuga on some level as well. They have a lot of money, but I mean, after that, in the CryptoPunks, but like some of these OG collections, but after that, I don't know. It becomes a little iffy. It becomes a little iffy, I mean, like the Doodles thing with Dapper Labs seems kind of interesting. I don't really know how successful that's been.
So to that end, then what's your idea on the community side of it, right? So for the projects that are still, you got The Gods, you got Artifact, you got Azuki, you got a lot of these projects that are still doing really well. And a lot of the utility from a lot of these holders it's community. It's a lot that's delivered not from airdrops, not from anything monetary value. Curious just your thoughts on that.
Yeah. I mean, the reality is, okay, I mean, those communities, I think, are strong, but they're very small. I mean, again, like, I really struggle with, like, the mass adoption part. Like Disney, like, are families going to be raising their kids on any of these IPs? I mean, that's kind of the question I asked. And Justin, you should answer this question.
Aside from VFriends?
Yeah, VFriends.
I think the big takeaway, and I got to agree with a lot of what John said, but being at NFT NYC as well, my biggest thing is these NFT projects, these PFP projects, they have to create content. They have to expand their IP or they're going to die. I don't think there was a very, very, very few parties that were actually thrown by the projects themselves because they've run out of money. They don't have any money.
Co-op.
So most of the events were actually thrown by the community members, which is quite telling. There's no secondary royalties practically. They've all kind of dried up. So from my standpoint, these projects that want to survive to next year or build a quote unquote $1 billion brand have to monetize. They have to work with, whether it's our studio to create cartoons, they have to work with a toy manufacturer They have to create merch, but they have to create content. Content is what is going
Totally
to
agree.
actually deliver them and help
But
them
who's
expand
consuming that
platform.
content?
Hmm?
Who's going to consume the content? How's it going to get into the?
Well,
How's it going to get into the mainstream?
that goes back to my main point too. Like, is a lot of this content, Justin, even built for mainstream? Are these IPs? Are these really strong IPs that? Because you come from the traditional worker, you're working on like
Right.
Spidey Man, you're working on Disney Channel Plus, you're working, on you come from the very traditional entertainment world.
Name brands.
I mean, how many of these IPs are going to really be able to bridge over?
Oh,
And
very
kind of
few.
get into that massive of
Very,
right?
very few. And I think it's a combination of the right teams. So we'll work with, a few projects that have sensational teams where they've actually worked for the largest tech companies. So they have a deep understanding, deep relationships. They have, some of them have phenomenal art and great communities. So that kind of trifecta will hopefully be able to bridge the gap into these, Warner Brothers or Disney or Pixar or DreamWorks. But candidly, most of them are not going to survive. Most of them have been very experimental and fun, and they've had their run, and that will be it. But there will be some projects that thrive and survive.
One second, Adam. 1 second. So interestingly, Justin, you work at a Web3 animation studio. So the tech behind NFTs, I would think would be curious to you in terms of. So let me give you an example. So one of the first NFT projects that I ever got involved in was a project called Deadheads.
I was about to bring that up.
Deadheads started. Are you familiar with it, Justin?
I actually did a voice on one of their episodes.
Me too.
I love their team.
Right?
I think it's terrific. Lynette is wonderful.
Lynette is wonderful. I love.
We had Betty. We
spectacular.
had Betty on it. We had Betty. Betty was on our show.
Well, that's Dead Fellas, John.
That's
which
Dead-
is
yeah, that's
it's
Dead
funny
Fellas.
because they
That's
have very
different.
similar names. So you got Dead Fellas with
Oh,
Betty,
Dead Fellas.
and then Deadheads is
Ow.
they started as
Ow.
like an animation. Yeah.
Wow.
So Deadhead started as that's right. They started as an animation
So many
studio,
dead projects.
CMI Studios, and basically what they did is their CCO project. So any of their holders, they could stake their NFTs to be in the show, and then in the show, you stake your NFTs, boom, and then now you have the opportunity as that holder to create merch, to create your own storyline with that own character and do interesting things with that. So the interesting part about the tech when it comes to this side of things is that piece right there for me is I think that this industry is so much more about the community. It's the communitization of things. So not everybody wants to be Disney. A lot of people just want their 1,000 fans, and then they could thrive with 1,000 fans doing what they're doing. Correct. Now I do 100% agree with you. The only way Deadheads is going to work is if they create content on content and they bring an audience to them. But I'm just curious on the tech side, being that you have a Web3 animation studio, are you guys playing with kind of how Deadheads is using it in terms of go ahead, please.
Yeah, big fan of Deadheads and agree with you, Kevin. I mean, many projects and many content creators, as we know, with 1,000 super fans, they can make millions of dollars a year and thrive. Now, it's a little bit different with these NFT projects, candidly, because their floor prices has practically gone to zero and they're not getting any secondary royalties. So they need to be able to monetize in a new capacity. And that's where we think bridging the gap and actually creating cartoons or something of that nature will be very helpful if this trifecta is there. Yes, I think the tech around NFTs is sensational. So we really look at cartoons as next generation storytelling. How do we involve the community? How do we involve the community in terms of the opportunity for them to participate in the story, for them to pitch ideas, for them to pitch episode ideas? How do we set up a channel within their Discord where they can actually audition to be a voiceover actor in the character? How do they stake their character? How do we incorporate NFTs into the cartoon where they get some behind the scenes content that obviously is tokenized? So all of these opportunities are fantastic. We're in the very early stages, right? All of us here, we're pioneers in this. I wouldn't even say we're early adopters because candidly, most people don't even know what NFTs are. Is that word going to stay around or is it going to be transforming into digital collectibles? Amazon is launching, their platform in the beginning of June, and NFTs won't be anywhere there. So yes, I'm a huge believer in the tech, and we're very excited to be part of the revolution that all of us are in. And I also feel like we should address some of the questions. We got Liam throwing out a bunch of fun stuff.
Yeah.
Calling John, he's got to be rolling around in his roles in in
Well,
in Dubai.
Well,
would be great.
to that, that's a good one, and Liam did throw a
Well-
good question here. John, what are your thoughts on? So let's talk about the non-PFP version of NFTs. Let's talk about some of the cool things that some of these big brands are doing.
Yeah,
John,
let's talk about
what's your
utility.
take on Starbucks Odyssey, Nike Swoosh, what some of these big brands and how they're entering the NFT scene?
I think, I mean, the Starbucks one is interesting to me. I don't know why they didn't build that on the back end of their regular app. To me, it's just strange. It's a separate app. I know that the Polygon paid Starbucks roughly $30 million. They did their first drop, and it generated about $200,000. So basically, they have negative ROI right now. Although probably for Polygon, in terms of marketing splash, that was amazing. So they probably got hundreds of millions of dollars.
Big time.
It's a long play. So that one's interesting. I think it's weird that it's a separate. It needs to be integrated. Like, I think any of these companies that are these brands, it needs to be integrated into the regular mobile app. I think mobile is really the key to driving mass adoption. We're even at Landvault, we're changing up everything in terms of our strategy now. I mean, we're still, our early builds were Sandbox Decentraland. Now it's more of a white label metaverse solution built, on the back end of Unity, Unreal. Very mobile friendly. It's just it's a whole different world. We've really listened to brands and customers and what they want, and we're continuing to pivot. So I mean, honestly, I'll tell you this right now, and like in 30 days from now, our strategy will probably be even slightly different than what I just explained. I mean, you have to be constantly moving and listening to the customer and listening to the brands. Yep. So yeah, I mean, the Starbucks one, yeah, it's interesting, but again, I really wish they had built it into the regular app. And just like, I think the key is that nobody even knows they're interacting with this technology. I think that's the key, because I don't think most people are going to ever care about NFTs, Web3. I mean, because the reality is, I don't remember ever hearing the words Web 1 and Web 2. And I seem to just, adopt most of this technology like everybody else. So I don't know how Web 3 became such a thing.
I mean, listen, it's a catch-all. Everything needs a catch-all. Everything needs a branding forward. Everything needs to be.
So we didn't have social media.
Yeah,
I think John brings up a great point, which is what he and Sam and their team are doing with Landvault. Is you have to be very agile in this space. You have to be able to pivot, listen to your customers from the NFT perspective. Listen to the community. What does the community want? How do you bridge that gap and move the space forward? How do you move that NFT project forward? And you always have to be listening, communicating, and pivoting and being agile. And the folks and the projects that do that successfully are going to be the ones that thrive.
Yeah.
Well, since you're go ahead, Adam, please.
No, I was just going to say, and I agree with John on this one, and we've talked about it too. And I think that the last 2 years of the negative PR from NFTs, the rug pulls, the scams, the devaluation, have really scared people off. And when people hear about wallets getting robbed, like, wait a minute, I'm going to connect my wallet with all my assets to it just to get a bonus point on my coffee. No, I think that, and we had discussions about this during New York NFT week with some people. There almost has to be an intermediary. I mean, I'm calling it almost like a coin purse, something where you could access brands, loyalty, and activation without giving them, access to keys to the kingdom. So I think people are scared. They're uneducated. And now we kind of had that forest fire where we had to burn all the shit projects and let the oaks and the saplings rise.
Yeah, and also, I mean, one of the big takeaways from NFT NYC this year, I mean, I listened to one of the founders of OpenSea talk about how, clearly there's been so many scams. I mean, I got hacked significantly. Most of the people in the space have been hacked. Kevin, it looks like you as well. So,
I don't have anything anybody wants.
And there's so many, right? There's so many of these Web3 infrastructure, NFT infrastructure companies that are going to streamline and, get rid of the friction. MetaMask is ridiculous for a newbie to get into the space and buy an NFT. It's never going to happen. If we want mass adoption, it has to be like you don't even have a wallet. You don't even worry about your keys. You're not even going to know what those things are. And that takes a while, right? Tech doesn't happen overnight. But I think within the next 6 months to a year, we're going to see many, many Web3 infrastructure companies that are making this process so streamlined, Starbucks, for example. But as John said, I agree. Why do they have a separate mobile app? Most of these brands that are entering through Landvault and through some of these other companies, they're going to be coming into the space and they don't want any of this friction for their customers. So that tech is being built right now. Those are the roads and bridges we all talk about with infrastructure. It just takes time. It's not going to happen overnight. But when it's here, that's when the mass adoption is going to come into play.
Yeah. But I mean, my favorite example of a brand that has done it right is Aloe Yoga. We had Angelique Vendette, their CMO, on.
Yeah.
There's a lot of reasons why they're doing it well. First off, she's the only decision maker in the room. Like, the CEO of that company wants nothing to do with Web3. They don't even know about Web3. They empowered Angelique to make all the decisions, but she has kept it. She just took what was in front of her and did it well. On the NFT side, she just did a simple loyalty membership model, just leveled up the customer experience for their existing customers. She knows who her customers are, so she just leveled it up for them. You get access to like special, like fashion week events, special gear, things like that. And then on the metaverse side, she was just like, hey, let's just build in roadblocks because that's where the most amount of customers are and that's where the data is.
Makes sense.
She kept it really simple, and honestly, she crushed it.
Makes sense.
And but again, it goes back to the original point, though. She was the only decision maker in the room, because that's where a lot of these brands are struggling right
Process
now.
paralysis.
Way too many cooks in the kitchen trying to make decisions.
Yeah.
I just want to give a shout out to Liam firing off some questions.
I was going to say, Adam,
Liam,
can you
you're
put
rocking it,
Liam's
buddy.
last
Thank
comment
you.
back up?
And all the comments. Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Liam, I got you. I have a question.
Here's a good question right here.
So mass adoption. I go back and forth with everybody about mass adoption and this thought process that we have, right? And we've been hearing it since I've gotten here. I've been hearing about mass adoption since 2018. This is going to be it. This, DeFi summer. Oh, it's DeFi. Oh, it's game. Oh, it's this. And so, most recently we hear that gaming is that thing. It's going to be that thing that brings everybody on board. What are you guys' thoughts on mass adoption? Like, in my opinion, it's death by 1,000 cuts, right? There's going to be 1,000 things that happen that are going to bring people on. I don't think there's going to be that one killer app. There's not going to be that one thing that brings everybody. I mean, heck, I barely know any gamers, so I don't think it's going to be gaming. What are you guys' thoughts on mass adoption? Is there going to be this one thing that happens, this one event, or just, what are your guys' thoughts on that?
I'll take it first. John, you go.
No, I mean, the only thing I'm going to say is just, I feel like the model is whatever happened with ChatGPT. Like I think that will happen for Web3.
It's only on LinkedIn, by the way.
It's only on LinkedIn. That's all I'm going to say. Just you go.
No, I agree. I mean, it's like you want to talk about one event that transformed the world, ChatGPT, and suddenly now everybody's an AI expert. But it is. I mean, really, AI is pretty unbelievable, and it's how disruptive it is to every industry. Everybody's using ChatGPT and Midjourney. I mean, I don't know everybody, but at least folks that we know. And AI is going to be, is so disruptive, and that's one thing. But in terms of Web3, how are we going to get to mass adoption? I firmly believe it's going to be, that's why we have a studio. I think it's going to be a cartoon that actually makes that leap, and that is on Cartoon Network or Netflix or Disney or Nickelodeon. But in addition, it's going to be, once that launches, seamless for folks to be able to buy an NFT. Either it's going to be MetaMask, which I highly doubt, or another product out there that you're not even going to know you're buying an NFT. It's going to be integrated into your life, digital collectibles, in a way that's fun and seamless and education.
Maybe the Solana phone.
But look right here. What Giancarlo is talking about too with Reddit. I didn't mean to cut you off there. Reddit did it. Right. Reddit did it, and they didn't even call it NFTs. They didn't call it the avatars. Right.
There you go. So it's going to be a numerous things that really come into play, and a lot of this infrastructure that's being built now. When is the magic time that it's going to happen? I mean, we're hoping for the bull market to resume mid to late 2024.
How about now?
Fingers crossed. That's kind of the thought, and that gives us, about a year in tech to build, which is, I mean, tech moves fast, so that's possible.
But my original point about the ChatGPT was, look, it literally took you less than a minute to sign up. It was just like you sign up for any other account in the world. Literally, you just attach your Gmail address, and then when you see the interface, it looks just like Google search. I'm telling you, that's what I'm trying to say. That's what Web3
seamless.
It was very familiar. It was already a customer journey that every customer has already gone through. That's been on the internet anytime in the last 10 years. So that's what I'm trying to say. Web3 needs that. That's the mass adoption moment. Nothing that exists right now in the space even resembles that. And it's just funny, Justin and Kevin, I mean, I don't want to be mean, but like the fact that you guys are like pros in the space and you're getting hacked, I mean, that's a bad thing. When like, and there was other big time pros that get hacked. Like that's not good.
Yeah, but then
Agreed.
you know, for every one of those, there's, I mean, you know, we still get phishing emails. Web 2 people are still getting hacked.
Mhm.
You've been a pro of 30 years, and you could still get it. So
Senior citizen.
Very true.
I hear you. I definitely hear you. We're so nascent, right? Like Justin said, we are all
Right.
still the pioneers. We are the early adopters. All this BS about we're in this, like, no.
We're way early.
We are so freaking early. People still think NFTs are PFTs. They don't understand it's a token. They don't understand all the tech that's behind it. So, you know, we still have a long ways to go. Go ahead, Adam. I know you're going to say something.
No, nothing. And I think there's a logical transition into speaking early days of the metaverse. You know, we're in this early days
Absolutely.
of the metaverse where we're not getting a lot of like the scammy thievery kind of thoughts on it, but we're kind of getting, why should we care about it? Who's going to use it kind of thing. And I think that leads us to talking a little bit more with John about, you know, what the big brands are doing, what their vision is. Like, am I going to go buy a Hershey bar in the metaverse? Like, what the hell does that mean? John, what's like the take you're getting from big brands when they come to you? Where does that advice start from a strategic standpoint of understanding what, where, and why they want to build in this space? Or is it like, shit, the CMO says we need to build in the metaverse, and now it's just a checkbox. I'm the senior marketing lead. Now I got to talk with the Landvault guys and say, oh, let's build a Hershey store in the metaverse. Like, how does that conversation work?
Yeah, I mean, the problem is, I mean, there's a couple things. I mean, brands definitely want to get in and get those data points. The brands that are doing it are the ones that have their executive teams that have signed off on it. So that's step one. Then you have a group of brands that are interested, but they don't have the money, the budget. You know, obviously, you know, I don't know, are we officially in a recession? I don't know if has that been claimed, or we're close, right? So
For a year now.
We won't know till 2 years after. Yeah.
Right. So there's a lot of brands that like they have executives that are interested in doing it, but they don't have the budget or the money. Yeah. So we have to attack it at different ways, right? So I mean, we're coming up with creative solutions internally to address all those issues, but the brands that are like, again, like the Alo Yogas, the Starbucks, the Nikes that are getting in there, they're the ones that they're collecting the data now. And it's interesting. A lot of them want to partner with us on the tech side. A lot of them have realized, hey, our IP is not ready, like a Disney or whatever. Or, you know, it's funny because most of the entertainment companies really haven't leaned much into it, which is kind of shocking. Everybody was predicting it would be sports, entertainment. Entertainment's really kind of sat back. We've actually seen most traction on our end, finance, banking, governments. It's
I believe
super
it.
Interesting. Yeah. So we're I mean, we have plenty of brands we're talking to, but we're just having to come up with different solutions. You know, the thing too is a lot of these brands, I think the Starbucks Polygon thing and some other these big deals, the pay for play thing, it doesn't exist anymore. Like we're not, like companies don't have the money to, Web3 companies do not have the money to give these big checks to Web2 companies. So it's coming up with different creative solutions to give those brands the power to go out and maybe get the money from other partners that they have. So, you know, we will come up and consult with those brands, give them a strategy to go back to market to wherever they need to get the money to fund the building. But again, it goes back to Web2 and Web3 brands really partnering. Like that's the environment now. It's like, hey, let's build this together because there's not enough money out there to do it the way it was done that maybe the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Just to jump in real quick,
Sure.
Liam, you got to bring Liam on as your next guest. He's bringing the heat. So, John, I don't know if I mentioned you during NFT Miami. I ran into Volan, you know, who we had on the show a long time ago. Who's now over at MasterCard, and just some alpha on MasterCard. They have been building and building for the last couple of years, very much behind the scenes, and ready to pull the trigger, according to some inside information. So they're just kind of waiting for the right time. They're going through some of the issues government-wise that need to be taken care of. But, you know, a lot of these big companies, I think that they have been building, and I think Liam brought up, or somebody else in the comments brought up Apple earlier. Why haven't they taken a big chunk? You know, from our standpoint, we don't, I mean, they have an army, right? They have an army of engineers, these companies that are $1 trillion companies or $500 billion companies. Who knows what's going on behind the scenes? But we end up finding out, well, obviously John would know beforehand with Landvault. But a lot of us out there, we may not know until they make the press release and they're ready to go, but they've actually been in the works, tinkering away, building some infrastructure for the last 24 months.
And I've been saying this, and I minted a MasterCard NFT, and I told Adam I would give him the link, just FYI, this weekend, just so that's funny. But I said this, big brands, they run after the money, right? So in 2021, they had all the announcements for us, right? This was happening, and this was happening, and this was happening. What incentive does a big brand have of coming out and saying that they're doing this? None. Nobody's looking, nobody's watching. As we all said, right? We're the players that are here. We're the early adopters. There isn't enough of a groundswell outside of our space, I believe, that would make sense for them to announce all these things just yet. So what I think they're doing, like in Apple, is they're waiting. They're biding their time, right? Waiting for that time to pounce. You saw today, right? They announced that, weirdly, finance and tech are getting a lot more cozy. They announced a 4.1% APY yield on an account at Apple.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was really interesting, right? They're getting into finance, right? Crypto, blockchain. So maybe they're coming in through the back door. Maybe we're thinking entertainment.
They have the cash.
They're right. They're coming in through a different way, and then little by little. But
So you're saying Apple? You're saying Apple's the new bank of the future?
They could be. Well, but listen, right? Think about this, guys. What has Elon Musk been talking about? He's been talking about becoming the super app, like they have in China, right? The X app, which does finance, which does everything. It's the one app stop shop. I think that people are paying attention. It feels like Apple's going to come out. And it just feels like, right, you heard like Liam, who's been killing it. Liam, BlackRock is talking tokenization. Larry Fink has been talking about tokenizing the world. All assets are going to be tokenized and put on the blockchain. If BlackRock says it, it might as well be the US government that says it. So I feel like there's just this groundswell, and it will happen little by little. But right now, there's just no incentive for these big brands to come out and do this. They're looking at Starbucks. They're looking at Nike. They're looking at all these ones that took the risk. And then I
let
feel
them
like
go first.
Let them go first. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the entertainment companies, Disney had VV, right? We thought maybe Disney would buy Dapper Labs.
Yep.
Warner Brothers, CAA, all of these big entertainment companies or talent agencies or production companies, most of them had Web3 teams. Some of them still have Web3 teams. A lot of them have disbanded them. Because again, in 2021, there was money to be made. It was a gold rush. And then 2022, and now here we are in 2023, we've been in a bear market for a while. For those big entertainment studios and companies that manage massive IP, they don't want to be in a place where it could potentially be a rug pull, or potentially they don't sell out of their project, or they end up spending more money to introduce it, and they're not really doing much with it. I think, as you said, Kevin, agreed. They're biding their time. They're either building behind the scenes or they're waiting for the market to return, and that's when they'll release some projects. But at this point, what's the point for them? From my perspective, this is a golden time to be building. If you're an NFT project, build your IP and then be able to bridge that gap and kind of be that 2.5 and be able to reach out to those studios and say, look, we have original IP. We have capital. We've got a great community. We have great art. Here's a sample of a cartoon. Here's a way for us to be part of the future IP. Here's a way for us to be part of the next generation of storytelling. We've incubated it as an NFT project. We've tested it. We've done A/B testing. We've figured it out. We know what works and we know what doesn't work. And now let's bring on and work with the big boys. So that's kind of what our thoughts are.
Yeah. But Justin, I mean, like into the metaverse. I mean, it's crazy. Box is still not even open to the public, which is insane. I mean, most decentralized metaverse in the world, and like some of those builds are completely outdated now. So, like, I don't even know what you do. Do you blow them up and have to rebuild them, or try to update them? I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, that's why the entertainment companies have been hesitant. But first off, visually, it doesn't look like anything they've created, and they're scared as hell to activate their premium IP in such a clunky,
right,
unvisually pleasing environment. So
I agree. You're the
we talk about building, but when you talk about the building, but I mean, I just think the technology, like you guys said, we're early. I think the technology is just not even there to support mass adoption. That's the other issue. I think NFTs are there in terms of like a membership model, loyalty. I mean, I think the technology is there to support something like that, but like the metaverse, like that's definitely not ready for mass adoption quite yet.
Agreed.
I mean, we're getting there.
Agreed.
But, and I don't know how fast it's going to accelerate, but I mean, because let's be honest, like AI has been around for what the concept 40 years. I mean,
Yeah, it's been around long.
Our mind, like
before the web.
That's right.
Long time.
Agreed.
Right. And now we just finally hit the kind of mass adoption
that's right.
moment. So where are we at Web3? I'm not sure. I think it'll be faster adoption just because AI came, the idea came along way before like a lot of these advancements that are happening now. But still, yeah, I mean, probably 5 years. I think 5 years is probably, my guess is that's when I think we're about 5 years from real mass adoption.
I agreed. I think that makes total sense. And just one thing to add to that is, part of me was always like, all right, Sandbox is Decentraland, this is ridiculous. There's no users there. All the users are in Roblox and Minecraft. That's where the brands want to be. But I've been thinking about it more recently, which is, look, these big metaverse companies, a lot of these stuff that we're kind of working on, or we're not working on it, but tangentially, we know the builders that are working on it. They're experimenting. This is an experimental phase, and a lot of this stuff is going to go away. A lot of it's not going to work. A lot of the users are not going to adapt to it because it doesn't make sense. But we shouldn't necessarily be condemning that, right? Because in new technology comes a lot of experimentation that doesn't work, but something that a company maybe have experimented on will lead to something that's transformative. And I think that's kind of where this space is, especially in the metaverse. I mean, I'm not bullish on most of those companies surviving. Candidly, I think it's going to be the big video game companies that are going to come in and dominate, like EA, et cetera, that have all the users. But that doesn't mean that something that Sandbox or Decentraland built or tried to build isn't going to turn into something that will be transformative in 5 or 10 years.
Well, not to get too nerdy, but that's why I'm so excited about this space, the composability, right? Exactly what we're talking about. The languages that we're using to build a lot of this, they're composable. So a developer can go on top of another developer's code and build something even cooler than the last one built. That's what's so awesome about this space is it feels like I think you guys are exactly right. I think you're 100% right. We're close. That again, I don't think there's necessarily going to be this one mass adoption thing, but we're again, tech takes a long time to build, long time to secure, but we're in that experimentation phase where you're going to figure out and see what happens. Right there, Bitcoin ordinals. That's a great representation of an experimentation.
Talk about that.
Who the heck? That was a Bitcoin maxi wanted a NFT on their blockchain. I don't think they did, but spawned out of that. Now my guy Giancarlos in the comment section, the gods, Utes, they went over and built some NFTs and some IP over on Bitcoin, and those things are flying. I think they're going for like four Bitcoin right now. And now that spawned Udi. I don't know if you guys know Udi, who's kind of a big Bitcoin influencer. Now he's talking about building all this stuff. So it just feels like it spawned a new excitement, a new energy. And that's, Justin, you hit the nail on the head. Experiment, like that's what it does, right? You get excited. You hear about something new. You're like, oh, I didn't think about that. Now you have new thoughts and then you build. That's what's so exciting about this space. That's where it feels like we're at.
Like you said, I mean, Bitcoin maximalists hated ETH. They hated NFTs. And here you go. You got ordinals that are just blowing up. And now you have all these, these Bitcoin maxis that are like, oh, NFTs or quote unquote, they're called ordinals. This is interesting. And these things are flying and making a lot of dough. And here we are in this very experimental phase with NFTs on Bitcoin. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of the fun of this space is you never know what's going to happen. I mean, ordinals popped off a few months ago, and now there are all these builders and collectors in the space. And, I still have a difficult time understanding it, but, early folks that are very early on have made a killing on them. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of the fun. That's where we are. And we shouldn't take ourselves too seriously. You got to be a little irreverent because we don't really know where it's going to go.
Yeah, this has been a great chat, and this is our first live show, and I think it's a pretty cool concept. Is just have an open and honest conversation. It's not as structured as a podcast. We know what you guys do. We'd rather use this time to involve the community, bring in some comments, bring in some questions, and just spur a lively conversation. So, Kevin, bring us home here. Let's wrap the show up today.
Yeah. So, again, really appreciate you guys for joining us. Really appreciate everybody for joining us, for interacting with us, for having some awesome questions. Liam, Dennis, Gian, appreciate y'all for coming along. I've lost my train of thought. Adam, can you help me wrap up this show?
Yeah, no, I absolutely here. So I want to do one kind of final hot take question to each of you here while Kevin kind of regains his thoughts on this Monday morning here. John, what do you think the biggest threat to the future of the metaverse growing and mass adoption is? What do you think the single biggest threat is going to be?
Security. I think it's security. I think it's the security issue. So I actually was talking to a company today that has it's an AI security company built for the metaverse. So I was super intrigued by that. But I think that's where a lot of brands, institutions will have hesitation, right? I mean, there's really no policing of it right now. So it's your kids could be interacting with who knows who, right? And with the avatars and all that, I think the security thing. So there's a lot of interesting things happening in security with like biometric data and things like that and stuff I don't even understand. But yeah, I would say for me, it's security. Justin?
For the metaverse, that's your world.
Yeah, Justin, in your world, let me spin it around right here. I mean, you're working on some pretty creative stuff out there, and leave us with one piece of alpha out there from a creative standpoint. What's something that really gets you excited, and not just what you're working on, but what others are working on when it comes to utilizing creativity, and it can be even the one-of-one art, like getting back to the origin of where NFTs really started with the one-of-one art. Like, what are you seeing in the community? What are you hearing the word on the street at these events? What is it that's really keeping your fire lit in this space?
Oh boy, that's a hard one because there's so many things.
That's why it's the last question.
Said, one-of-one art blocks is blowing up. It's still, if you got a
still rocking.
If you got some of those fantastic art blocks, curated pieces early on, I think those are going to be long-term holders. We got a lot of like Asian and Russian collectors that have popped in the market recently, and a lot of these pieces of art I think will be exploding over the next 10 to 20 to 30 years. That's not really my world. I think what really gets me excited and kind of what I gathered from NFT NYC again are the smart teams with great communities that are really focused on expanding their IP. How do they get to that Web 2 world where they can incorporate NFTs into their project, into their content, but build that huge audience, which will actually help them get to $1 billion brand, so they can actually, build toys, build merch, TV shows. So that's what gets me super excited. That's what gets me up every day working to help those projects do that with our team. I want to thank the commenters, Giancarlo, Liam, dude, you brought the fire. Dennis, Kevin, Adam, this was awesome being on. We're thrilled to have you guys on NFT Heat. I got a plug for everybody.
We're getting to the plugs.
Yeah, I got you.
Oh, Kevin's going to bring the plugs. Perfect.
I got you. Everybody.
Plugs of all types.
Real quick. Proof and Zen Academy, just for the record, are doing amazing things with one-on-one artists. I just wanted to say that. Okay.
Cool.
Check out Crypto Toys.
Checked out Crypto Toys. Thank you all for tuning in to today's first live episode of the Immutable Mindset with myself and Adam, where we had an incredible conversation with our guests, John Kraski and Justin Shenkarow. We hope this discussion has sparked your curiosity, inspired you to think more about the future of technology and how it can reshape our daily lives. Justin, let's start with you. Please let the people know where to find you on social and let them know anything you got going on.
All right, cool. What's up, everybody? So just at Justin Shenkarow. It's Shenkarow is similar to Cruz or Pitt in terms of the spelling.
Check IMDb also.
There, but at Justin Shenkarow, and then watch our daily cartoon show. We're on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. We got to get on LinkedIn, which is John's territory. But we're at the Morning Fork. And check out our studio, but always reach out to me. I'm very transparent and available all the time. And thanks for tuning in.
Thank you, John.
Love it. Amazing.
Past John's
find
bedtime.
me on LinkedIn, obviously. No. I'm not going to the gym tomorrow until 8:30, so we're good. I've had to adjust a little bit because I take a lot of meetings from 7 p.m. on. So it's kind of crazy.
We have to time shift, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all good though. I'm kind of finally adjusted to this new normal. But at John Kraski on LinkedIn. We have the NFT Heat podcast. You can find us there.
At
TV
NFT
show now
Heat?
as well. Correct. And then I just started filming a new TV series. Don't worry, Justin, I'm not cheating on you. It's going to be called Landvault, live from Dubai, building the future of the metaverse. We're going to be doing 31 to 2 minute episodes. We already shot like 15 of them on Friday. The Rolls Royce was one of them. But we're trying to. It's kind of like think CNBC meets Bravo. Like it's kind of like going to be a little more fun because here's the thing that you guys know. Content on LinkedIn in terms of Web3 is a little stale right now, and I think there's a blue ocean opportunity to start to create your own original content, and kind of control the narrative. So that's what we're trying to do because let's face it. I mean, AI. You just don't even try to compete with the AI stuff. That'll
we don't bother with that.
But I think, but Web3. I think the most successful creators. In terms of Web3 are the ones that are going to start creating their own original content, something fun like this. This is a killer show. I love it. Trust me, Justin and I have done tons of podcasts and guest appearances. This is by far probably one of my favorites. Like it's just interactive. It flows naturally. It doesn't feel forced. Yeah, I would come back anytime. I mean, it's like it's fun. It's you guys have
we're chopping it up.
So, don't worry. We know you're. We know you're sending us the private jet to go to Dubai. We know. Don't worry.
Are we going to see you on Bravo?
Just a virtual private jet.
Well, I was going to say we can't do the Real Housewives or the Real House Husbands, but what is it's like $1 million listing.
No.
The real degens of Web3.
No, but so real degens of Web3. But somebody said $1 million metaverse listing.
Well, they're out there right next to Snoop Dogg. But I do want to kind of close on one final thought here because this is what Kevin and I are doing with our show with the Immutable Mindset. Right now we're about 12 to 15 episodes recorded, 9 episodes aired. It's an experiment for us. It's an iteration. Last week, Kevin and I had a breakthrough as far as how we're going to reframe kind of our show because we felt that we were kind of lost and being very open and transparent as far as who are we talking to here? What's our target? Are we talking to everybody and then we're talking to nobody? So we're reframing the show up. This is the start of it where we're going to be doing 2 types of content. These open format probably once every couple of weeks, and we'll be doing a lot more of them. And then our show is going to take a little bit of a turn. Same awesome guests, but we're going to be a bit more laser focused on where we're going with it. So Kevin, John, Justin, I want to thank everybody out there. You know where to find out more. You can check us out on the Immutable Mindset across all social media channels. Find us in the links. You can find us on Apple, wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Check out more. Gentlemen, have a great day. Everyone out there who interacted, everyone who's listening on the replay, we thank you. Have a great day and take care. Goodbye, everybody.
Take care.